Hello. So a few weeks ago, Candace Owens on her show Candace talked about Erica Kirk and suggested that Erica Kirk might have dissociative identity disorder or DID, which many people know as multiple personality disorder. And I'm not making commentary whether Erica Kirk has DID or not DID. I'm just reporting what Candace said because it made me listen because you'll see why. As I go through this, you will understand why I was listening. Anyway, and she based this opinion on Erica Kirk's signature on documents, and you get a book and you sign it, and her signature at one point in time was very, very different than her signature at a different point in time. She didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but if you think about it, if you go back 10 years, your signature is going to look essentially the same. Go back 20 years, depending on how old you are, it's going to look essentially you're the same because your signature is your signature. Anyway, a little bit about dissociative identity disorder. And so people that get dissociative, I'm just going to say DID because it's just easier, that get DID or multiple personalities usually develop it very, very early in life. And it's suggested that these individuals get this disorder 6 years old or younger. And it emerges because the individual has experienced extreme abuse, and that could be physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. And what happens is that the person brings in what they call an alter, which is this other personality that kind of takes over the body and runs the show and interacts with you. And these alters can have different names. They can be male, they can be female, they can be old, they can be young, and every place in between. And that, my friends, we're going to explore from a Dr. Rita perspective tonight on Thursday Night Live. Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you for tuning into the show today. And I want to apologize for not being here last week. Actually, I was here and I was hitting the go live button, and I saw that I was only broadcasting to Rumble. I don't know, one thing, and not to YouTube, which if you are listening to the show in a rerun or listening to it on a different platform, I highly recommend that you interact via my YouTube channel, which is at Just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's where the majority of the people that are in the chat room are, so you can hang out and join and have a conversation. That's at Just Energy Radio. But anyway, so it wasn't broadcasting to there, and I just decided to just not do it because there was no way for me to recover. How's that? There was no way for me to recover. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. And so I started off the show talking about DID, dissociative identity disorder, but I want to take a little side trip first because I think it will make where I'm going with that make more sense. So what I want to talk about are people that are identified as having schizophrenia. Now, they might have a lot of other things going on with them, paranoia, delusions, et cetera, but one of the things that seems pretty consistent through their commentary is that they hear voices, they see people, they see ghosts, and the mental health professionals sit there and go, well, that's not real. you're crazy. You're crazy because there's no ghost and you're not hearing like ghost voices because they don't exist, thus making you crazy. And we have to put you on some kind of medication, which kind of makes me crazy because, I do that professionally. So, I mean, even though I am kind of crazy, like in my own way, but I'm not like schizophrenic crazy. Um, anyway, and so to me, the sad thing is these individuals they do hear voices. And they do see people and they're invisible, ghostly entity people that are hanging out and talking to them, literally. Um, so people that are schizophrenic, what I have seen in my work is that they lack the internal filters to separate out our perceived reality from what somebody that sees in the spirit world. And so someone like myself that, interacts with the spirit world, I can turn it on and off at will. I have to put my little entity glasses on and then it's like, oh, there's an entity. But these people, there's no filter from cognizant reality. I mean, because the reality is there are freaking ghosts walking around all over the place. You go to the house, there's a ghost. You go to this place, there's a ghost. I mean, not that there's like wall-to-wall ghosts, but there are ghosts out there. There are non-corporeal beings that inhabit our world. And to sit there and say somebody's crazy because they can sense them is a little insulting. But anyway, and so, if they are hearing voices, obviously they have some clairaudient ability because they're hearing spirit. If they are seeing the ghost, they have a clairvoyant ability because they're seeing the spirit. But again, we filter reality, but a psychic can see beyond the normal waking world that many of us live in. But again, they're labeled as crazy, but they're not imaginary. They're real. And I'm going to give you, and this is what kind of brought this whole thing up for me to bring up as a topic. So I was helping a friend with their mentally challenged son who is schizophrenic. And we were sitting in a waiting room waiting for an appointment, and we were watching stupid dog videos on YouTube. And he just started talking about this person that was sitting on the wall over there. And he was like, oh, well, that guy over there, he's got a demon. Blah, blah, blah. He's got a demon. And I'm like, okay. So then, probably not so subtly, I looked over. And lo and behold, the guy had a demon. But I couldn't, what do you do with that? You're with somebody that's mentally challenged. You're in a mental health facility trying to get them help. Do you sit there and go, oh yeah, the guy does have a demon and validate that? And then I could just see him going, oh, well, Rita said that, this guy in the lobby had a demon. And then they get the little white coat for me. Yeah, I just wasn't going to go there. And I don't think that's going to be a conversation he and I will have because he has too many other issues to support and validate that piece of it. And so people that have have schizophrenia, I believe, not all of them, but some of them could be healed, but it's a very long process. It's a long process to help get the chakras, the energy centers in the body to work correctly. And depending on what's going on and what the voices are saying, because sometimes the voices are mean and nasty and, the dog is telling you to kill the neighbor. Not good voices to be hearing. Might be real. You might be thinking that the dog, although it's an entity, is telling you to kill the neighbor. They really need to be squished out. And it's very challenging to help an individual that is having those kinds of things go on and they're taking medication to help them heal it, because one kind of wipes the other one out and it just wouldn't work. So back to dissociative identity disorder. So in its classic form, the individual takes on these personas, these alters, and it has a slightly different dynamic. And so someone that's schizophrenic has the person talking in their ear, or the dog is talking to them, or, but it's an external voice that is communicating with them, or they're seeing the demon sitting in the waiting room with this guy. I mean, but it's external. People that have dissociative identity disorder actually have the entity, the being, the spirit enter their body. And I just want to say that, said in another way, it's kind of like they have a full-blown possession going on, where there is a battle for control over the physical body, and where the person, I'm going to say the primary individual, loses control. And so to me, there is a process that happens. So there's the individual, and again, they have experienced extreme abuse, and something happens and they get triggered. And because the abuse has been so extreme, they can be very easily triggered, they can be very readily triggered. And when they're triggered, it can take them, Don, you know this word, it can take them down into the deep, dark rabbit hole. But with these individuals, they go so deep into the rabbit hole that they actually give up control of the body. And so they sit there and say, well, these people are crazy, and they have these alters, and they don't really understand what's going on. And, there's something cuckoo going on, versus they have this phenomena going on. But there are actual documented cases, documented cases of individuals that have DID, where their blood pressure and heart rate are different in the alters. Some of the alters might need to wear glasses, or maybe the individual needs to wear glasses, but the alters don't need to wear glasses. Some of the alters might have blood sugar issues. There are cases where a person is right-handed. I'm back. Okay. I have to tell you, it's like I had no power for half the day yesterday. My printer broke. It's just like, anyway, but there are documented cases where there are individuals who are right-handed, and the one of their alters or whatever is left-handed. There are cases where one of the alters might have allergies that the primary person doesn't. There are even documented cases, and this is the one that I found the most fascinating, is that the primary person is blind, blind, but some of the alters are able to see. What the heck is with that? What is with that? Unless you're talking about different people, different personalities, different energy vibrations going into the body, and creating a different vibrational mix, a different hormonal mix, a different emotional mix inside the physical body. And what explains that is not that it's up here, but that there's like a traffic jam going on inside of you. And the whole trigger thing, I'm just making the assumption that that is what is going on. Now, I think, and this is my belief, I have only ever talked to one person that had dissociative DID. I don't think they realized that they had it. But I feel like, and this is a little scary to me, is that the medical community, instead of dealing with these extra personalities, teach them to have a relationship with them so that it's much easier for the other personalities to come and go inside the body. So they're shifting a lot. Usually if you have, or not usually, because this is a new concept I learned of, but many times people that have this disorder do not remember. You know, so you're sitting there and you're going shopping, and then the next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock at night and you're sitting on the sofa watching TV, and you don't know how that all happened, you know, because there's a level of amnesia. There are some people that do not have this amnesia. Now, I don't know if it's because they have worked on it and they have taken down that boundary that is protecting them from interacting with the other personalities. I'm not really sure about that, but these are totally different personalities. You know, because they claim that they coexist with each other from a young age, and that they know their alters. You know, and if I was to speculate about Erica Kirk, and I mean, I've never interacted with her. I cannot tell just by watching video of her, you know, what the situation is. But if that was the case with her, that she has this very fluid kind of DID going on, but it just makes me put out my own speculation on this claim that somebody would have noticed it. Somebody would see these changes in her personality and notice them. I don't think that it's something that you can just totally ignore in an individual that you're close to, that you have an ongoing relationship with. You know, so if people think something is crazy, that you're crazy in your head, you know, just say no, because I believe that there are beings and entities hanging around in the picture, and they're the ones that are doing it and communicating with you. So I hope that makes sense to you, and I would love to hear your comments, especially if you have DID. Like if you're watching this video and you have DID, I would love to hear your comments about, am I hitting target here or not? I mean, unless you're totally programmed by the mainstream medical who just says you're crazy, which I don't believe you're crazy. No, I believe that you just don't have very good filters. Anyway, so that's my thing for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you leave, again, comments in the comments section. And while you are watching this, or after you watch this, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my different social media channels. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe to it. If you're seeing it on Substack, please like and subscribe to it. Same with Twitter. Same with Rumble, because that helps the channel grow. And one of the things that I just learned recently is that there's liking it, and then there's putting in a short description, or not a short description, but, you know, like responding. And apparently the magic number is 6. You know, so hang on one second. So what looks, and if this is something you're interested in, you know, please do explore my YouTube channel. If you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, you can go to my webpage, which is soulhealer.com. It is loaded with articles. There are, I want to say, 3 or 4 other articles about entities and entity attachments. If you think you might have one, it can give you some information. You know, but I would love to hear from you. soulhealer.com.